You guys, yeah, then we are going to address the overview diagram of microservice. Listen carefully. Each word is going to be one session or two sessions. Every word we discuss, every word I launch today is going to be one or two sessions in our discussion feature. That means what we are going to learn in microservice architecture is going to be presented in today's time. That's why I named it as what? Overview diagram of microservice architecture. Let's see. Yes. Okay. Audio is not clear. Let me try available at my level. Now check out. Now check out. Am I audible? No, sir. Please sound is. లేదన్న అసలు మాట మార్చండి Hello. Any other?
non-functional feature. But how many threads are opened? How many processes are there? What is the CPU memory that is used? How much objects are created? How many classes are involved? These are non-functional features. Okay, but you need not to develop these non-functional features manually. We have, okay, actuators, ready-made microservices. Once you add them to any microservice, you will automatically get list of non-functional features. You automatically get what? List of non-functional features. Is it not interesting, my dear? Come on. Yeah. List of what? Non-functional features. Okay, that's good. Okay. But every microservice will have their own non-functional feature. But I want to see non-functional features of all microservice in single place, that too in a GUI format. So that time we have to use one special server called admin server. What server, guys? We have to use one special software called what? Admin server. Admin server will list out the actuator generated all non-functional feature in one place. The actuators generated all non-functional features in one place. Is that clear, my dear? Come on. Yes, that's good. Yeah, that's next one. Next one is what? All these microservices. What is there? All these microservices. All these microservices are individual projects. Every project will have its own log file, right? But I want to see all log files, log messages in a single GUI environment. For that one, distributed logging and tracing tools are there. Up to Spring Boot 2.x, we used to have Sleuth, Chipkin Boss, but now they are outdated. In 3.x, we can use what? Either ELK stack or what? Sleuth. ELK stack or what? Sleuth. Okay, guys, not Sleuth, guys, Splunk. ELK stack or what? Splunk. Splunk is outdated because it's a commercial one. ELK stack is open source. That's why everyone is preferring to work with that, right? Okay. Okay. To work with a non-functional feature in a GUI environment, admin server. To, to see all the log messages of all the microservices in a single GUI environment, ELK stack. ELK is a combination of how many tools? 3 tools. Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana. It provides a GUI environment to see log messages of multiple projects in single place. Okay, now next one. Let us assume microservice 1 is doing withdraw operation, microservice 2 is doing deposit operation. Both are dealing with two different database software. So definitely transaction management is required. But is it good to have local transaction management or distributed transaction management? Distributed transaction management. For that one, we need some advanced tools are not there, guys. So for that distributed transaction, we are going to take the support of what? Atomakis or what? Narayana. Or we can also use what? Saga pattern. Or we can also use what? Saga pattern. Are you getting my point, my dear? Come on. Yes. Or we can also use what? Saga pattern. Okay, that's good. So the full and final conclusion from my side is what? A microservice 1, 2, 3, 4. These are multiple microservices. Come on. Connected with what, guys? Database using Spring Data JPA. Connected with what? NoSQL. Using what? Spring Data NoSQL. Using what? Spring Data NoSQL. Is that clear, my dear? Convinced with me, my dear? Come on. Yes, that's great. Tell me. MS1, MS2, MS3, all this stuff. Okay, that's fine. Fantastic, guys. So finally, conclusion. All these microservices will talk to SQL database software using Spring Data JPA. All these microservices will talk to what? NoSQL database software using Spring Data NoSQL. All these microservices will use different module for different operation. For mailing operation, mail. For batch processing, batch. Okay. For microservice based communication, what? MQs. Lot of communication will take place or not there, guys. Come on. Yes. These microservices will be registered to make them discoverable for other microservices in a special server called what? Eureka, sir. Okay, these microservices will bring the properties from what? Common GitHub GitLab. Common GitHub GitLab. Okay, common GitHub GitLab through what server? Config server. Simply through what server, guys? Config server. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Okay, when these microservices are in communication, if destination microservice is not there, there's a possibility of getting what? Exception. So when that exception comes, come on, when that what? Exception comes, there's a possibility of getting exception or not there. But I don't want to get technical exception. I want to get what? Non-technical exception. For that one, we have to use what? Resilience 4J or Netflix eat string. Resilience 4J or what? Netflix eat string. Everyone understanding my statement, my dear? Come on. Yes, that's good. These microservices, what is there? These microservices, okay, wants to deal with functional and non-functional features for both. Functional and what? Non-functional features both. Are you understanding my statement, my dear? Come on. Functional and what? Non-functional features both. For that, okay, they are working with what? Spring Boot actuators concept. What concept, guys? Uh, Okay, admin server is the server that will provide all non-functional feature in a single place or not there. Next one. Every microservice is a separate project, will have its own log file. But I want to see all log messages in single place, that too in a GUI environment. For that one, we are going to take the support of what? Distributed logging and tracing are not there. Okay, earlier Sleuth Chipkin, nowadays what? ELK stack. Okay, if different microservices are doing different operation on different database software to execute, do everything or nothing principle, to execute by using what? Do everything or what? Nothing principle. We have to take the support of what? Global transaction management. What is there? Global transaction management. Okay. We have to definitely deal with what? Global transaction management. Got it, my dear? Come on, everyone. Yes, that's great. Tell me here, where is this? Yeah. Every microservice is identified with its URI or not there. It is identified with its URI. 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 Every microservice is identified with its URI. What do you say, guys? Come on. Got it, guys? Come on, everyone. Every microservice is identified with its what? URI. Okay, that's good. But problem is these front-end people cannot remember those many URLs, right? So we need a one special microservice that acts as what? Entry and exit point for all other microservice. And that special microservice is nothing but API gateway. Okay, these are APIs, these are microservices are RESTful web service. RESTful web services are technically called APIs. So it is a gateway for all APIs. It's a gateway for what? All APIs. Gateway for what? All APIs. That means what, guys? It acts as entry and exit point for all other microservices are not there. It acts as entry and exit point for what? All other microservices. But what this microservice, which is acting as API gateway, actually does? Okay, it will take care of routing. So from the front end, it will take the request based on the content of the URL. It will take the decision. The request should go to first microservice, or second microservice, or third microservice. Similarly, it will gather the result and gives to front end. That is routing. Filters. Okay. I want to keep pre-request processing and post-response generation logic. Array, suppose I want to apply auditing. I want to apply auditing. Instead of doing auditing in every microservice, you apply auditing in what? API gateway. It is indirectly applied on everywhere or not there. So for that one, we take the support of what, guys? Filters. to apply pre-request, common pre-request processing logic and common post-response generation logic, we have to take the support of what? API gateway. We definitely need to take the support of what? API gateway. Are you getting my point, my dear? Come on. Yes. Yes, guys. Tell me next one. Yeah, next one, guys. SSO, single sign-on. Security also we can apply on API gateway. Why? Instead of applying security on every microservice, you apply security on what? API gateway. It is equal to applying security on all the microservices are not there. Super. And how data will be exchanged between API gateway and microservices? JSON with HTTP. Sorry, this is special microservice acting as API gateway, and all these are what? Various operations that API gateway can do. It can do routing, tap the request, send to different microservice, gather the results, send to front-end application. Next one, filters. How does this filter will work, guys? Come on. How does this filters will work, my dear? Come on. How does these filters will work, my dear? Come on. Yes. How does these filters will work? These filters will work to apply common pre-request processing logic and common post-response generation logics. Yes, okay. SSO, instead of applying security on every microservice, we can apply on API gateway. It will be applied everywhere else or not there. Next, JSON with what? HTTP. What this JSON with HTTP will does, guys? Come on. What does this JSON with HTTP will does, guys? Come on. Yeah, JSON with HTTP will does trapping request and sending responses. Trapping request and what? Sending responses. Yes. If you know everything we are going to develop each day. One day Eureka server, one day microservice, all this stuff. Microservice architecture is a designing or specification which provides set of rules or guidelines to develop the projects as what? Set of loosely coupled or decoupled services, and this can be implemented using what? Spring Boot or Spring Cloud and Netflix and lot of other tools. Every module in the project will be developed as separate microservice in the form of what? Spring REST controller with the support of Spring Boot environment. Once microservice architecture is ready, it will be deployed in cloud environment. Okay. And with the support of what? DevOps tools, Jenkins, CI/CD and other. Okay. Maintenance will be done, deployment will be done with the support of this one. After developing each microservice as separate Spring REST or project, it must be published in a common place called R&D server, a register and discovery server like what? Netflix Eureka server. What server, guys? Netflix Eureka server. Once microservice can find other microservice in R&D server, can be used for communication through the same old R&D server, then only other microservices can find for what? Communication. Can find them for what? Communication. Got my point, my dear? One microservice can find and communicate with what? Another microservice only when it is published in what? R&D server. Only when it is published in what? R&D server. The common properties the common property with the same values of multiple microservice can be placed outside the microservice in a place called config server like what? GitHub. In a place called config server like what? GitHub. If any exception is raised in the execution of one microservice, then it has to be informed to what? Admin UIR dashboard with the support of what? Circuit breaker like Netflix Hatstreak and Resilience 4J. Netflix Hatstreak or what? Resilience 4J. Everyone getting my point, my dear? Come on. Yes. If any microservice is having more demand, then we need to allow to create what? multiple instances dynamically. In that situation, to pick up the right instance with a less load factor from other microservice, we take the support of what? Load balancer, like Ribbon, Fin, HTTP load balancer and what? Etc. HTTP load balancer and what? Etc. Are you getting my point, my dear? Come on. Yes. Since we are developing every microservice as what? Spring REST in Spring Boot environment. So we can make these microservice application integrating with what? Lot of facilities like what? MQs, mail, caching, everything. Or for message based communication. Microservice can interact with the SQL database software by using Spring Data JPA. Microservice can interact with what? NoSQL database software by using what? All this stuff. Whatever I talked about, same thing is there. Same concept is there. Okay. Transaction management is two types. Where is this? Local and distributed. If multiple operations or tasks are executing in single database software, local transaction management. Example, transfer money between two different accounts of same bank. Same bank means same database software. Right, my dear? Come on. So for that one, we have to work with what? Local transaction management. Distributed transaction management. Transfer money operation between what? Two different banks of two different accounts of two different banks. Okay, that will be done with the support of what? Distributed transaction management. If the microservices are in communication, completing job or task, it is recommended to enable what? Distributed transaction management on them, because the task will be completed across the multiple microservices using what? Multiple database software. Simply literally using what? Multiple database software. Component, Spring Tool and what? Purpose. Service development, Spring Boot. Create independent services. Service discovery, Netflix Eureka. Register and discover services. API gateway, Spring Cloud gateway. Okay, single entry point are a various important thing, guys. Development, Spring Boot. Okay, for identifying services, microservices, Eureka sir. API gateway, Spring Cloud API gateway, entry and exit point for all other microservices. Load balancing, load balancer. Configuration, to get the common properties, Spring Cloud config. For communication, to get communication between microservices, we use what? REST template or web client or Fin client. Circuit breaker, if communication fails, I don't want to see technical messages. I want to see what? Non-technical messages. For that one, resilience 4J. Messaging, Kafka RMQ. Monitoring, actuator and what? Jipkin or ELK stack. Non-functional operation, actuators plus admin server. So like this, we have a different facilities are not there, guys. Okay. We have different facilities. I think you got the clarity. Let me ask a few questions. All microservices, okay, of microservice architecture should be registered anywhere or need not to be registered? Should be registered somewhere. What is that? Eureka server. Why? If one microservice wants to talk with what? Another microservice, they need to enable communication between them or not there, guys. Definitely they need to enable communication between them or not there, guys. Okay, that's a great thing, guys. That is for microservice for communication. That is really for what? Microservice for communication. Okay. Yeah. Okay, next one. If this microservice wants to talk with the SQL database software, what they use? Spring Data JPA. If this microservice wants to get common properties from GitHub, GitLab, what they use? Config server. When microservices are in communication, whenever a destination microservice is not ready, we'll definitely get exception. But I don't want to get technical message for exception. I want to get what? Non-technical message for exception. Then what we use, guys? What is the one we use? Yeah, the one that we use is what? Resilience 4J, circuit breaker resilience 4J. I want to enjoy all non-functional features of what? Microservices in a single GUI environment. What is the server we have to use? Admin server. What server? I want to enjoy all log messages of different microservices in a common place. ELK stack. I want to perform distributed transaction management on all the microservices. Okay, Atamakis, Narayana, Saga, this kind of special things are there or not there? Okay, I don't want to remember every microservice URL. I want to communicate with them through what? Common microservice. What should be the common microservice, guys? API gateway. All these are design patterns actually. Design pattern with implementation. To implement those design pattern effectively, we have what? Spring Cloud module. What module, guys? So we need not already implementing design pattern. We have a ready-made facilities, and those facilities are there in what? Spring Boot Cloud module. Okay, na? Right. So I'm raising one technical question. What is the difference between RESTful web service and microservice? Because microservice is also RESTful web service, na? Very simple. The RESTful web service or API that is registered with Eureka server is called microservice. It's a high level difference. Okay. More minute differences we'll collect from our AI agent. What is the difference between what is this? RESTful web service. In the bracket, what is their API? And what is their and what is their micros? RESTful web service and micros. RESTful web service API and what? Micros. Yeah. Here is what? Google Drive, not Google Drive, ChatGPT. What is the difference between RESTful web service API and what? Micros? Microservice question. RESTful web service and micros. What is that? An API exposed over HTTP using REST principle. An independently deployable what? Application or service. Purpose. Enable communication between applications or component. Breaks large application into what? Smaller business services. Scope. Usually an interface or communication mechanism. Okay, it is what? Architecture style. Communication. Commonly HTTP, HTTPS, JSON, XML. Can use what? REST, gRPC, Kafka, messaging, multiple communication this. Deployment. Does not necessarily have independent what? Deployment. Normally independently deployable. Database. Can share the database with other services. Ideally owns its own what? Database. Every microservice have its own database. Business functionality may expose one or many functionality. Usually focus on what? Okay, one business capability. One or other business capability. Next one, technology. REST with HTTP. Can use Spring Boot, Node.js, .NET, Go, anything, multiple things. Scaling. API itself does not define scaling strategy. Individual services can be scaled what? Individually. Example, get customer 101. Here customer service. Architecture, communication or API concept. Overall application architecture concept. Okay, banking application. Okay, here is what? Bank application. Banking application, customer service, customer this, account service, they have their own database. Okay. These microservices, they are independently deployable business services. Each microservice can expose what? RESTful API. See, customer service is having API, this is having API, this one. So, REST API is what? Communicatable interface. Microservice is what? Independently deployable component. Important. REST API does not automatically mean what? A microservice. You can have monolithic application exposing what? REST API. Okay. One line enter your answer. RESTful web service is an API communication mechanism, whereas microservice is what? An architectural approach in which an application is divided into small independently deployable business services. Small independently deployable what? Business services. Okay. Uh, so REST is one way microservice communicate. REST itself is not microservice. REST is one way of communication of microservice. Okay, generally what we do, every microservice is developed as RESTful web service. And for getting communication between microservices, REST protocol will be used. But not only REST, other protocols also there. Right? So single line. With respect to Spring Boot, we can say one thing. My RESTful API that is registered in what? Eureka server is technically called as what? Microservice in Spring Boot environment. Technically called as microservice in Spring Boot environment. That's good. Okay, now let me give all of them one by one. This is what? Scaling. Here is one example. Is that clear, guys? Come on. What is the difference between RESTful web service and what? Microservice. Give me diagrammatic representation showing the difference between RESTful web service and microservice. Showing difference between RESTful web service and microservice. It is clear diagram showing conceptual difference. I'll take this. Copy the image. Yes, okay. $6,000. This is monolith architecture, guys. Okay, application logic API, data layer. Here is what? Database. Data layer. Here is my what? Database. Microservice architecture. Tell me. So here, multiple services are there talking with each other or not there? Multiple services are there simply talking with each other. Okay, let it be, boss. So today what we do is we try to create one Eureka server. Eureka server is not an installable software. You create a project, add starter. You add a Eureka starter. That project itself becomes Eureka server. When you add web starter, are you not getting embedded Tomcat? Similarly, when you add Netflix Eureka starter, the project itself, the Spring Boot project itself becomes Eureka, sir. Got it, my dear? Sir, on which port number it runs by default? 8080. But recommended port number is what? 8671. No reason. Somehow they used it in the documentation. Everyone is following. You can give any other port number also, but recommended port number is what? 8761. No technical reason behind it. So they are recommending it, and in multiple documentation they have seen. Okay, this one, that's why we are also following. And Eureka server is also called as no document server. What server? Because when you register no WSDL document, nothing will be there. Just information will be there. You can register any number of instances. That's fine. You can register any number of instances of one microservice, no document to download. It will tell to other microservice, yes, you want this instance, I will give, but you ask me. But no documents like WSDL. So when you go to Naresh IT, they will maintain course brochure to give to you, right? Or one pamphlet to give to you. But in R&D server, no documents, nothing will be there. Just information about registered microservice will be there. Just information about registered microservice will be there, nothing else. Okay. Now let me give. What happened? Save this. Let me open Eureka server. Session how much? 4. Session 4. Netflix you know as what? OTT platform. But Netflix is also there as what? Also there as a vendor company giving software. Amazon we know as what? e-commerce website, but Amazon is a big software vendor company, right? Amazon is a big software vendor company. We know that. Every microservice must be registered or published with what? R&D server, register and discovery server in order to make it discoverable or communicatable from other microservices. As of now, Netflix Eureka server, Apache Zookeeper are two popular R&D servers. Every R&D server is what? Spring Boot project having R&D server dependencies. Don't expect separate installation like what? Tomcat, Wildfly, etc. No, you create a project with appropriate starter, automatically that becomes what? Eureka server. The process of publishing or keeping microservice details in what? R&D server is called registration activity. The process of discovering or fetching microservice details from what? R&D server. To establish the communication or interaction from another microservice is called what? Discovery. Are you getting my point, my dear? Come on. Okay. Yes, guys. Tell me, what is the difference between web server and what? R&D server in microservice. Web server is a piece of software that is given to manage and execute web applications. This also can be RESTful application microservices. But when it comes to R&D server, nothing but Eureka server. It is not there to manage and execute any application. It is just to maintain information about the microservices. Still, to execute each microservice, we need a web server. Microservice is RESTful web service. If you want to execute RESTful web service, Tomcat is required. Come on. But still, that's why I don't think. But same microservice should also be registered in what? Eureka server. To tell that I am there, you have to register in Eureka server. But original execution is done by Microsoft. Original execution is done by what? Microsoft. It's something like this, guys. Come on. You have to tell to Institute or Naresh IT, I have presented in today's class by doing some kind of thing, right? Because you are telling I am here. But sitting in the class, gaining knowledge, okay, for everything faculty is required or not there. You are informing that you are available in the institute through attendance. But conducting the class, teaching subject, discussion, everything is done by faculty and lab people are not there. Okay, since you are there in faculty classroom, maybe Naresh IT may not be aware you are there or not there. So that's why for registration, separate place, but actual action in other place. Actual action is happening in faculty place. Okay, you are available or not there in what? Attendance. So our Naresh IT is like what? Eureka server. Faculty is like what? Web server. But microservice needs both are not there. So a student is nothing but microservice. You need to have that attendance. You should have what? Faculty. So in faculty where real actual task is taking place. But Naresh IT attendance mission is there only to tell that you have arrived today. That you have arrived today. Is that clear, my dear? Come on. Yes, that's good. Web server is a piece of software that is given to manage and execute what? Bunch of web applications or website. This also can be used to deploy and execute what? RESTful application, microservice application. Every microservice execution happens in what? Web server. It must be registered with what? R&D server in order to take it as what? Discoverable or communicatable for other microservices. R&D server is what? Separate project having R&D server dependencies in which all microservices will be registered. If we add Spring Web Starter to the project, then we get what? Embedded Tomcat server. If we add Netflix Eureka servers to the project, then we get what? Embedded Eureka server. What server, guys? Embedded Eureka. Yeah. See guys, in Eureka server, this kind of information will be there. Service ID means project name. To instance of such service, instance ID, okay, every instance will have a separate ID, that one. And host name and IP address and load factor. Like this, it will maintain information about all the microservices and their instances. Okay, see. Project name is service ID. Each instance ID is different. Its host name and port number is maintained. Load factor. Currently, how much load is there? Max load, how much it can take? How much max load it can take? Every microservice will have one what? Unique service ID, project name. For every instance of microservice, one instance ID will be generated. Instance name. Eureka server is what? In-memory server that is created because dependencies added to the Spring Boot or what? Spring Cloud project. What is the difference between RESTful web service and what? Microservice. Microservice is equal to RESTful web service plus plus. The RESTful web service that is registered with what? R&D server is called as what? Microservice. R&D server is called as what? Microservice. Is that clear, my dear? Come on. Yes. Eureka server is no document server. That means it does not contain any XML file or what? JSON file inside the server. Does not maintain any document having details of what? Microservice. Having details of what? Microservice. Service ID is always what? Project name. Instance ID is what? Unique ID. For every instance, one unique instance ID will be generated or not there. Providing instance ID when single instance is optional. In that situation, service ID will be taken as what? Instance ID. Okay, it's giving explanation about everything, guys, nothing else. Okay. Why Netflix Eureka server is called as what? R&D server. And every microservice should be registered. Okay. And if one microservice wants to communicate with another microservice, details about other microservice should be discovered through what? Netflix server. Should be discovered simply through what? Netflix, the R&D server, Eureka server. That's why it is called what? R&D, register and discover server. We register or publish every microservice in Eureka server in order to make it discoverable or communicatable from what? Other microservice. So we can say Eureka server as what? R&D server. Eureka server as what? R&D, register and discover server. What server, guys? Register and discover server. Okay, first of all, first you mentally prepared for one thing, guys. First, you mentally prepared for one thing, that is no separate installation. You create the project, Spring Starter project, having certain dependencies, it automatically becomes what? Eureka server. Okay, what I do is I will restart it. 1104. Right. So now let's create one Spring Boot this file new. Where is this? Spring Starter project. Let's start the new series. Boot MS Pros 01. What server? Eureka server. Jar is enough, guys, because I want to see as embedded server only. Spring Boot MS. That's good. Say next. Here is my Spring Web, guys. Okay, I think this is enough. Web, not web. Don't use web. You have to use web means it becomes microservice, right? We have to go for what? Eureka. What is there? Eureka server. Say next, say finish. Say next, say finish. Yes, guys. Tell me what is the story here? Boot MS. Boot MS Eureka server. What server? Boot MS Eureka server. That's good. Yeah, this fine. Okay. Any port number you can take, guys. Yeah, this is remember. Server.port when WebStarter is added will be used for embedded server. Tomcat kind of. Server.port in Spring Data JP application will be used for embedded database if H2 starter is added. Come on. If web starter is added, embedded server. If H2 starter is added, embedded database. Server.port in Eureka server project will be used as port number of Eureka server when if Eureka server starter is added. Right now, what is the starter I have added? Eureka. Okay, what is that? Eureka server port number. What is there? Server.port 404. What dot port guys? Server.port 4041. That's good. Tell me next one. Okay, server.port 4041. But listen, this is very, very important. Actually, with this Eureka, one more thing. This is another thing. Here you have to add one more thing. Enable Eureka server. Enable Eureka server. That's good. Yeah. Save this, guys. Saved. You run it. I think what's the port number I've taken? No. Okay, we'll take standard number. Not compulsory. Okay, because 4041 you are taking for RESTful web service kind of thing. Let's take a different number. Okay, any number you can give, guys. The default is 8080 like any other this one. Run as Java application. Actually, with this Eureka server is ready. That much simple it is to create a Eureka server, right? But one technical thing is there, I will tell. You try to visit Eureka server. HTTP : what is there? Localhost 8761. 8761. Observe. This is the blunder. Actually, Eureka server itself registered as a microservice in Eureka server. Is a bad na, boss? I'm developing Eureka server, but see, instances currently registered with Eureka showing Eureka server. That means somehow it is taking this project as what? Microservice. Microservice registered with Eureka server. That means at a time it is playing two roles are not there. Because of starter that is added Eureka server. And since nothing is there, it is registering what? Eureka server itself as a microservice. Because there are some inherited properties that tells this project is also a microservice. So I have to disable those properties are not there. Come on. When you create Spring Boot microservice project or Eureka server project, all these projects will get properties from parent project. That is Spring Cloud project. What project, guys? From that project, okay, they are inheriting two properties. Is it registerable with Eureka server? By default value is true, and true is continued here also. So that what happened? Eureka server project itself registerable with what? Eureka server. Meaningless na, boss? Next, another property that is inherited is it fetchable from Eureka server? Default value is what? True. Default inherited value is what? True. So because of that, what happened? It is registerable with Eureka server, fetchable from Eureka server. But originally it is what? Eureka server. Is it really meaningless or not there? Presenting same project as Eureka server, also as what? Microservice. It is acting as because microservice because of what? The default inherited properties are having what? True. For every project that we create as Eureka server, some properties are inherited from what? Parent project, right? In that, the default values for those two properties are what? True is there. Okay, first of all, I have to remove them. Change default values of the default values of inherited properties. Eureka dot client dot Register with Eureka. Default value that is inherited is what? True. Default value that is inherited is true. Anyhow, if you want to continue true, there is no need of writing again true. You just need to say what? False. Eureka dot client dot. Tell me guys, where is this? Fetch registry. What is there? Fetch registry. False. Is it fetchable from Eureka? No, because it is Eureka itself. Is it registerable with Eureka? No, it is Eureka itself. It's something like this, you know. You came to city, purchased a sweet in the sweet house, given to relative's house, gifted him, saying that it's a great sweet shop, great sweets. Everyone is talking about it. That's why I have gifted you. After receiving sweet box, the guest said, the friend said, okay, I am the owner of that sweet box. I am the owner of that word, sweet shop. Is there any meaning, boss? Purchasing sweet box from his own sweet shop and gifting to him. Yes, you are creating Eureka server project and you are telling that you are registered with your own Eureka server because I'm assuming you as a microservice because of some defaultly arrived values. So I have to cut those default values that are coming. That is creating illusion of that they are that is not a Eureka server. That is also what? Microservice. I cutted that default values are not there. Okay, after cutting those default values, you observe guys. Right click, run as Java application or Spring Boot application, anything. Java application or Spring Boot application. Is that clear, my dear? Come on. Yes. See, is there any instance registered here, guys? Any instance is registered here this time? No. Okay, what is the guarantee the default values are what? True only. Okay. If I don't give it is registered, that means default value is true only, na? Okay, but don't believe me, believe my proof only. Okay. You know that we are good in what? Showing the proofs, right? We are good in what? Showing the proofs. Yeah, tell me. Give me properties of Spring Cloud project. What project? Spring Cloud project with the default values. Spring Cloud project with the default values. Yeah. See, what is the default value? Register with Eureka. No, in Eureka server. No. This is giving our values. It is giving what? Our values. No, I'm not talking about our values. I'm talking about default values. It's not given. Give me. Properties of Spring Cloud project with default values inherited. Default values that are inherited. Default values that are inherited. Yeah. Register with Eureka. Register with Eureka. What's the default value? Fetch registry. What is the default value? Yeah, by default, it is saying what? Register. They are very good for microservice. They are very bad for Eureka, sir. Sir, why they have given true? They should have given false as the default value, na? First of all, tell me. In microservice architecture, one microservice or lot of microservice? One Eureka server or lot of Eureka, sir? Lot of one Eureka server. So Eureka server is one number, microservices are more number. And this default value with true is very much good for all the microservices now, guys. Only bad for Eureka server. So in Eureka server, you will make it fall. In remaining microservice development, you need not to disturb it because you are good with what? Default value. You are okay with what? Default value. I think you understood this point. That's the reason they wantedly maintain true as the default value. Convinced or not, boss? Yeah, let's see. Same thing I have explained here. Eureka server, enable Eureka server. That's good. Okay. This one, false. Tell me. Spring Cloud project, parent project, available in Maven Central Repository. What are the default values, guys? True. Microservice 1, microservice 2, microservice 3. Here, again, do I need to keep true separately? It is microservice. Do I need to keep true separately? No. We will not write like this because they will come from Spring Boot Cloud Parent project directly. They come automatically and what? Directly. What do you say, guys? Come on. Pros 2, pros 3. All of them will be published to whom? Pros 10. All of them will be published to whom, guys? Pros 10. Understanding my statement or not there, guys? Register with Eureka, false. Fetch registry, what? False. Mandatory to write in the Eureka server project. This project 10 is not microservice. This is what? Eureka. Compulsory you have to change it or not there, guys? Okay, here I have given explanation. Checked out my explanation. Every MS project should be kept ready to register with Eureka server. Since we cannot register Eureka server project itself with Eureka server, so we need to make default value true to true, inherited from what? Spring Cloud project for what? Eureka.client.register with Eureka property as what? False in Eureka server project. Eureka.client.register with Eureka, you change it to what, guys? False. In every MS should be every MS project should be kept. What is there, guys? Should be kept ready for what? Discovery, fetching for communication. While what is there? While registering with what? Eureka server. Since Eureka server project itself cannot be kept ready for what? Fetching discovery. So we need to make what? Default value true, inherited from what? Spring Cloud project for Eureka.client.fetch registry as what? Fall in Eureka server project. Eureka.client.fetch registry is what, guys? False. I hope you are getting my point, my dear. Come on. Yes. Is that clear, my dear? Come on. Yes. Okay, that's good. Yeah, this is intra communication. Leave it. Super boss. Now let me go for this. Now let me keep these guys. Google Drive. $23,000. SPBMS 23. Spring Boot microservices. Where is that? Yes. File upload. Tool CFS. Spring. What is there? 1104. Cloud microservices. 3 and 4 are something else. 3 and 4. Last two na. Where is number 4 session, guys? Thank you, guys. We'll meet tomorrow and we'll discuss.